welcome to Ask When everyone. I had the privilege and honor of being interviewed on Stephan's podcast, My Steps to Sobriety. And so when you guys hear this, please go listen to that one. And so I'm going to introduce Stephan and let Stephan take it away. And so welcome, Stephan.
No, thank you very much for having me, Win. It is an honor to be on your show now. It is just lovely. We are all so inspired people nowadays because we have gone through our own trials and tribulations, and here we are, the two of us, trying to just share our messages and making this world just that little bit nicer. So I'm really honored to be on your show.
Well, thank you. And could you please explain to my audience more about what you do and how you came up with the podcast, My Sober Steps to Sobriety?
Indeed. Well, I'm Stefan and I'm 54. And for much of my life, I've defined myself as an anesthetist and as a pain physician. So I was a man who was working. And when I did not work, then I worked more. So I was a very busy body anesthetist and took great pride in myself being that person. The problem, of course, is if you define yourself only by your profession and do not look after yourself as a man, do not learn about negative emotions, do not learn about looking after yourself really, then you fall prey to those negative coping mechanisms that I became a master in. So the social alcohol became very social, and then it became completely antisocial because I just didn't care anymore and was just drinking alone. And then I was drinking more and more and more, and
Yeah.
until I ended really down and out. And when I say down and out, I ended down and out deep inside myself as an empty shell. Uh, Luckily, I kept it enough together to become a what they call a high functioning alcoholic. Means I didn't have any run-ins with the law. I didn't lose my job. I didn't do too many super crazy things that destroyed my reputation. So I was hanging in there, but I must say I was probably hanging in there by a thread until really 7 years ago when my wife behind my back said enough is enough and organized a stint in rehab. And that was the, the start of a new life. It was the biggest transformation a man possibly could undergo from the one extreme that I was living, the hiding, the shame, the guilt, the low mood, the the nasty voices that were in my head telling me what a piece of crap I am, to now living a life so beautiful that yesterday becomes jealous of today, where I just have a fantastic time and I truly enjoy myself. What I really have done in those 7 years is truly I've learned to love myself, and that is a superpower that is incredible. It is it is something my kids often ask me when they were younger, Dad, if you could have one superpower, what would it be? And for a long time I said I want to be really clever, because then I can deal with any problem in a quick and logical way. But the problem, of course, is no, you can be you can be super intelligent and super bright, but if you don't have emotional intelligence, then you are just, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you you are, and I was paying attention to the whole thing, Stefan. I was paying attention to you. I was listening to you. Not to say that I wasn't multitasking, but I was about to say I was a high functioning alcoholic when and granted I was drinking to mask the pain of my mom and to mask the pain of my dad. But when you think about it, it I with cerebral palsy was a high functioning alcoholic, and I never had to go to rehab in my life of alcohol. But I know that families do interventions all the time for these drugs and all this alcohol. So, why do you think your wife wanted to put you in rehab and kind of stages as okay, I've organized this and now you're going?
Why? Because she still had an ounce of love for me. Probably not an ounce, probably a whole, I don't know, a megaton of love. Because it was, she probably saw how hurt I was, and she saw how hard my life had been, often self created problems. But bottom line is, yes, as I had a lot of trauma in my life, and I had never learned how to deal with that. The same with her. She had a tremendous amount of trauma in there. We had a lot of challenges for our lives. And like me, she was drinking like a fish. But then she found Jesus and was becoming a true Christian. And she, with the help of her church and help of her, of some a little bit of counseling, she actually stopped drinking. It didn't mean that she was sober, but she stopped drinking. So I always consider that phase in her life as a dry alcoholic, as a person who was still, I I can do it. I can do it. I will not drink. And it's that kind of not addressing the underlying reasons why you drank in the first instance
Yeah.
that makes it so hard. But down the line, I mean, she gave me this holiday of a lifetime, so to speak, $27,000 worth, a month of holiday with all catered. Unfortunately, no little champagne glasses to come in when you check in. Instead, they check your luggage for any kind of naughty things that you brought in. Uh, but I must say, when you said you had not been through rehab, I was immediately thinking, oh, I'm so sorry for you, because it was the biggest breakthrough for me ever, ever, ever. And I keep saying every 16-year-old should have a mandatory 4 weeks in rehab, because you learn so much about yourself. You learn so much about what makes you tick, what makes you drive, why you react to your environment in certain ways, what are your hot buttons, your triggers, and where do they come from? And you learn not just skills to keep yourself on an even keel and make it less likely to explode or to be down or to be anxious. But more importantly, you understand where these emotions come from. So if there is a certain way that your parents have spoken to you or at you, a certain way you were treated that caused tremendous bits of pain when you were 5, well, funnily enough, if your husband or wife now talks in the same way or raises their eyebrow in the same way, wham, there comes the trigger. And that is one example where childhood damage is of such importance. If you then go further down the line, the bullying in school
Yeah.
can leave tremendous amounts of PTSD and, again, anxiety there. Later in life, there are equal traumas. They all can come with a tremendous burden. And if you don't realize that, if you do not uncover that link, you are prone to flying off the handle or responding to someone where this person thinks, what the hell? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
I didn't even say much. It might be as simple as you making a compliment
Yeah.
to someone, and this person turns around. What do you mean, you
Yeah.
mean bastard? And you
Yeah.
think, what? I just said that
What?
shirt looks nice on you. So, but
Yeah.
it is something triggered you, and it's those kind of things, and that's exactly what I learned in rehab. That's where I started pulling sort of one onion layer away after the other until I finally had a bit of an insight. And those 4 weeks, it was like going to school, but learning about myself. And wow, what a journey! What a journey that started. And therefore, I'm so grateful to my wife because I came out not drinking, but far more importantly, I came out of rehab as a man who again had hope and had the reassurance that if I was to take my life serious and if I was to do certain steps to get my head straight, then I could actually live a life that is meaningful
Yeah.
beyond me being a doctor, beyond
Yeah.
me with all the wrong kind of labels that I put on myself in the previous 45 years, 46 years. Now I have chosen to write the next chapter in my book of life. I don't let anyone else write it. The past does not equal the future. So
No.
I have had yes, I am an alcoholic. Yes, I have been through hell and back. But that doesn't define me, but it helps me to define who I want to be when I grow up. And
Yeah.
and that is just beautiful. That realization that the past is not something to be ashamed of. It is something that has happened. Let's take the emotions out of it and actually say, okay, because of where I was, I am now this person. I am now a person who is transparent, who has got integrity, who lives his life authentically. And that is the such a powerful drive. I'm no longer ashamed of myself. I'm no longer afraid to tell the truth, to actually say, yes, I'm an alcoholic. I had some pretty rough times, but I actually got my shit together and this is how I did it. And keeping in mind that alcoholism and chemical addiction is such prevalence in our society, it is mind blowing. I mean, 1 in 3 people have got a chemical dependence, chemical addiction. So and if you think just that each of these people lives with one significant other, then that means that half of the population either knows someone or is directly affected by chemical addiction. So please, guys, if you listen to this because you recognize yourself in my story, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club of 50% of the human population. Okay? So you're not alone. You're not alone, but it's your stinking thinking. It's your brain that keeps telling you what a failure you are and all the shame and guilt, the evil twins. So now let's be clear about that, guys. Yes, you might have done things that were not so nice in the past, but that's the past. Who
Yeah.
cares? That is
Yeah.
that is right now. It's time for you to decide to take your life in your own hands. Right now, you're making that call to listen to Wynn's show, and you do so because you believe that you can change. And that is true. You can change. You will change if you put your mind to it, if you decide where you want to go. So you need a vision, you need a direction, and if you then decide to take action, one simple step at a time, one simple decision one simple choice. You can choose to have the triple cheese pizza, or you can choose to have, I don't know, maybe a chicken and some beautiful veggies, and have that nicely spicy and etc. So one is probably better for your body because it gives you more nutrients and things. The other one might be better for your soul because you
Yeah.
really want that triple cheese pizza. This
Yeah.
is food for your soul. There is nothing wrong with each decision, but it's your decision to make. And each comes with consequences. If you have the chicken and the veggies, you probably feel lighter in your tummy. You probably feel maybe a little bit more refreshed. At the same token, you might not get that warm, huggy feeling that the cheese pizza can give you. So there you go. It is your call. Don't feel guilty about each. Make the decision. Say, okay, this is what I needed right now. Yes, there is a cost to it, but that's cool. There's nothing wrong with this decision. So now, next decision. Okay, next dinner, you might say, no, well, actually, yesterday I had the warm, huggy cheese pizza. Today, I actually do the chicken with the broccoli. There you go. It's your choice. No one forces things down your throat. Okay, you make that call, what you put in your body. And that's just one tiny example of the life that I've chosen to live. A life with purpose, a life with sense, and a life where I've chosen to write the next chapter myself in my book of life.
Yep.
Speaking of books, I've written My Steps to Sobriety, which is thankfully an Amazon bestseller, and I put my heart and my soul in it. So there are many vignettes, true stories about my journey, about journey of fellow travelers who I met along the line, and it might be a real good eye opener for you guys out there if you question if you're maybe drinking too much, if you're, well, not quite addicted, or if you know a barn door, I drink too much or I am addicted, then this might be quite good because I'm going in this book through the 12 steps which helped me tremendously to get to where I am now. But I use it as a model how to help a failing business. So instead of God and instead of some kind of esoteric or abstract thing, I literally consider any problem in the way I would consider a friend having trouble with his business. Let's say I've got a restaurant that is doing really, really well. And my best friend has got a restaurant where there are some tumbleweeds rolling through and the cicadas
Oh,
singing from now and then. And he might come one day to me and said, look, I don't know how you do it, but I have no customers and I don't know what to do. Could you help me? Well, what is my logical response? I said, yeah, okay, come on, man. I'm of course I come. And I might come across to him and take my time, sit down, order a coffee, look at the menu, order 2 free dishes, and observe what's going on in his restaurant on the outside. And then I might taste his food, and I might go behind the scenes, see how he prepares the food. So I'll do a careful inventory with him and of the whole thing. So I step out of the whole thing of the problem and look at it objectively and figure out what works and what doesn't work so well.
and
Then thereafter, the next step is that we actually might make some changes. There are expensive dishes there which you need to keep all the resources for, and no one orders them. Well, that's a waste of his money. Or there are some dishes that are really would go really well, and people would love them, but he doesn't provide them. So you make some changes.
yeah,
Then
pick
you
and choose.
No, that's right. And then you basically pick those things that work and strengthen them and throw out those things that don't work. Then once you've made all these changes, then you go back to your customers And you might do a mail out or a radio announcement, etc., and say, look, guys, we have gone through some hard times. It's now time for our new spring menu. It's gorgeous. And because we believe in you guys coming back to us, we give you the first drink on the house and 30% off the main course or something like that. So this is how you get your customers back. And then down the line, you do quality assurance, and further down the line, once your business is cranking again, then you might say, wow, this was such a cool journey. I now create a Facebook group for failing restaurateurs, or I have once a month a business meeting where everyone can come and discuss their problems, etc. So what I've described to you there is a logical sequence how you would help your mate. Well,
Yeah.
that's exactly what the 12 steps are. The first three steps are that you recognize that you have got a problem. The next three steps are basically that you start working with the problem, analyzing and making some changes. Then thereafter, the next three steps is sort of making amends. And then down the line, you are continuing to grow and start giving back. So that's 12 steps in a nutshell. Now, it helps for alcohol, it helps for addiction, helps for emotional problems. There's the Alcoholics Anonymous, the AA, is also as NA, as many A's. There is Al-Anon for the relatives of alcoholics. There's so many groups out there that use the 12 steps in order to help others, because it's a system that works. So guys, if that now makes sense, and you had previously always thought, oh, AA is stuffy, old, all about God, etc., and I'm so not Christian, well, sorry guys, that's not really an issue. First of all, there are actually very secular groups out there. I guess it depends on which group you attend. And nowadays, with COVID-19, we are of course forced to do far more things via Zoom, via meetings. So if you think of it from that angle, that you actually have got no excuse. And if you think, oh, well, I don't really want to show anyone that I'm an alcoholic, so therefore I would travel to another town. Well, why another town? Why don't you go to another country? Why don't you zoom in somewhere in Denmark or in another country that speaks your language, which is on the other side of the world? You can tell everyone there about your experiences. No one gives a damn. Well, they give a damn because they want to help you, but no
Yeah.
one gives a damn that they say, "Oh wow, God, I know you because you work there and there." No chance of that. So here you are. You have got true anonymity, and you have got 24 hours of possibilities to get help. So you guys out there, please, if you feel that, if you question yourself, am I drinking too much? The short answer is you probably are. Otherwise, you wouldn't ask this question. The question then is, how do I go about coming off it? And the answer is simple. Figure out why you are drinking and do something about that in the first instance. Because there's a damn good reason why you're drinking. There might be many reasons. It might be trauma. It might be advantages that the alcohol gives you. If you're living in a life in a hard, fast-paced business where meetings are well lubricated, it's quite hard to not drink. And if you're in sales and you constantly wine and dine 24/7, well, it's hard. So there are good reasons why some people drink and therefore then drink too much. But you need to figure that out. What works for you? Why are you drinking? And why are you drinking too much? And what can you do about it? So do work on the underlying reasons. And if you do that in a systematic fashion, like with the 12 steps, suddenly you come to a point in your life where you actually realize alcohol has really no value, has nothing to offer you. it might give you a little buzz for 2 hours, might be taking the pain away for 2 hours, but then for the next 18 hours, you're hungover as hell. Um, and, nowadays I have to say, am I tempted from now and then with a glass of wine? I think, yeah, I am. It is there, the temptation. And I know that one glass would never be enough. Would be one glass and then two
Yeah.
bottles. Okay, so
One
that's
glass
a
and
fact.
with two bottles.
So,
Yeah,
exactly. So
exactly.
let's be clear about that. But is it worth it? And I would say no. I have got so many hobbies. I've got so many cool people to talk to. I've got so many cool projects on the go, things I develop, books I write, talk shows I'm on. It's bloody good fun. Now, this might not be your life, but your life might be that you no longer hide in a room where the curtains are drawn, but you actually discover walking. You discover that the area around you is actually hugely full of walking tracks that are most beautiful in the morning. You might enjoy a sunrise because normally you never saw the sun until late in the afternoon because that was when you opened the curtains. You suddenly
Yeah.
develop a different life. And this is for you to explore. There's a huge chance for you out there, guys. Life is beautiful. Life is fucking beautiful. It is, it is, go out there and live it. And don't accept any excuses that your brain wants to send you. I've got a disability. Yeah, therefore it's so hard to get out. Okay, you're right. Please look up the various people with disabilities out there that do mountain climbing, free climbing without legs, or do skiing, being hemiplegic, or things like that. Oh, for Christ's sake! So if you actually have a look at that, and I guess if you wanted to see something like that, well, go down the route of the many, many, many veterans around the world that have come back disabled and
Yeah.
are now living lives that are greatly meaningful. So it is there. This is not an excuse. This is maybe something that you hold in front of yourself or close to your heart because you say, well, I'm so afraid what is out there. And I would say this is a beautiful place for you to be in, to realize that actually you're holding yourself back. If you make that jump, if you actually realize that you're uncomfortable in a place where you should be comfortable, i.e., in your own body, then there's your chance to work on it. There's your chance to actually say, what would I really like to do? What is my purpose? What is my legacy? What do I want people to remember me uh, when I pass away? What should be written on my headstone? You know, these are the questions that allow you to focus and go out there, and that is what I've learned essentially. So, my steps to sobriety, my book is all about that. My and YouTube channel and podcast is all about that. I interview people who have gone through hell and kept going, and I want to listen to them and I want to learn how they tick. What lessons did they learn from their ordeals? Because virtually all of us have ordeals, but some of us turn them into strengths and turn them into a positive power that is most beautiful. So this is your opportunity, guys, out there. It is this you listening to Wynn's show means you're ready.
Yeah.
So you just need to decide where you want to go, and then you need to take action. And don't look too far ahead. Just take a little step. A little step. How do you walk 10,000 miles? Well, you put your right foot
One.
forward.
Yeah. One step at a time.
Exactly. So therefore, don't think, oh, great, I will change everything today. No, no, that
No.
makes you a failure by definition. No, just take one thing and say, you know what? Today, I might switch off my phone. And I will actually not do social media. I will not be influenced by negative news or fake news or whatever. I will actually just spend 24 hours listening, literally listening. What is happening around you? Stuff like that. Give yourself a moment of break, a moment of breather, and suddenly you might find that life is so much more beautiful for you.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Stefan, if you only had if you had to move and only take five things with you, what would they be? And yes, your wife could come. What would they be?
Wow. Okay. That's tricky because I always carry a 3 day bag with me. And so I've got a hell of a lot of things in there. To have it boiled down to five, well, as a disaster preparedness man, I would say fire, water, shelter, food. So something to make fire, something to clean water, a shelter so that I don't freeze to death, and means of getting food. And then my wife, but not necessarily in
Yeah,
that sequence. So
yeah,
that is from a survivalist point of view, this would be it. This would be what I carry on my belt kit. If you were to think, actually, no, let's stick with that because that is what you need to boil down to. What keeps you safe? What works for you? Now, that is the
yeah,
same thing in recovery and in life. You need to look after your survival first. It's no good that you try to, I don't know, meditate for your anxiety when you actually haven't drunken, eaten, slept well, and did a bit of exercise. So you haven't looked after your basics, and somehow you want to find a lightness. Yeah,
no,
bullshit. No.
yeah,
So look after
no,
your survival, look after your basics, do the basics right, and then you have got a foundation from which you can work.
yeah. Well, that's beautiful. And as we wrap this interview up, do you have any questions for me, or should we send them over to my podcast episode?
Absolutely. I think that's the best thing. Win has given me
Yeah,
such a lovely
just
interview.
just
So please,
go
guys,
listen to you guys.
that's
Just
right.
go
That's right.
listen.
So you have got so
She
much information about
she
Win.
over
Uh,
there.
was a
She
good fun was a good fun interview, guys. So that don't deprive yourself from a bit of fun and a bit of
yeah.
deep insights there that Win was able to share with me on my steps to sobriety, my show on YouTube, and as a podcast. As a podcast, you can find me on all the platforms, regardless where, and YouTube. Obviously, you go to YouTube. My book, My Steps to Sobriety, is out as a Kindle and as an ebook, and sorry, as an ebook and as a hard copy. And before Christmas, we will have our audiobook ready. I have also co-authored recently a lovely multi-author book. 16 authors wrote together a breakdown to wake up, 16 transformations that were came in all shapes and colors, but it also shows that we all went through very intriguing times. And yeah, it's a lovely, lovely book that is coming out there. So watch that space, guys. I will not go away in a hurry. Look my
No.
name up on out there, Stephan Neff. And it was an absolute honor to be on your show, Win. Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you guys for listening, and um, you'll understand why in the next couple minutes. You'll understand why I have had to fall off the planet, so to speak, because yeah, and you'll understand why my phone has been going crazy, and I can't wait to share it with you guys, and I appreciate it, you guys, and I hope you enjoyed another fabulous episode of Ask Win. Thanks, you guys. Bye, you guys.